So you know when you look on your phone and you do a double take and you can't quite believe what you're reading? That's what I had when I read that Tom Willis had signed to go to France at the end of this season, leaving Saracens and leaving the opportunity to play for England and play for England in the World Cup in 2027. So this is massive news. So I'm going to have a bit of a ramble off script and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Now, firstly, I'd like to say good luck to him. I think he's a top lad. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a nice guy. So clearly there are some big reasons why he's doing this. But at the same time, it's incredibly disappointing, frustrating, upsetting, that sort of thing as well, because this is a centrepiece of our pack. He's just established himself as our go-to number 8, and it meant that England could then mix around with the flankers however they wanted, because they always had this big, strong ball carrier that would be hard and honest and be very reliable. Now that has gone. Now obviously back row is an area where England is stacked, and it's just as well because we've lost a good one. His brother Jack Willis isn't available either. Both of those guys probably would be starting for England right now if they were available. And I think part of this problem is still left over from those clubs going under, from Wasps going under. The Willis brothers, they just wanted to play for Wasps. Jack Willis would never have left if not for that. And Tom Willis went to Bordeaux the first time, but then he came back and you thought, okay, the fact he's coming back is he wants to play for England. And I'm sure that was the case at that time. It looked perfect to go to Saracens because Billy Vunipola was just retiring. So he slots in there at number 8 as their big bad ball carrier, and he becomes England number 8. And that seemed to be the way it was going. But now he doesn't want to play for England. Now, that sounds a bit harsh, but as in the push factors, the pull factors to France are more than the desire to play for England, which, like I said, I'm not bagging him for. I'm just saying it's a real surprise. That is probably it for him, to be honest. Even if he comes back after his time in France, however long that is, 2, 3, 4 years, I don't know. There's going to be so many other good back rows around. I don't think he'd get back in. So this was his chance to play for England in the World Cup. He'd be, 28 years old. Then he could go to France for a good end of his career and earn the big bucks, because earning money in France is a real thing. Now, I'm sure his contract in France is going to be pretty decent if it is indeed for Bordeaux. You know, when people say, oh, I'm moving to France for the challenge, that sort of thing. Now, he hasn't said that, but I think Mark McCall said something like that. That's a load of rubbish. No one really moves for a challenge because it was too easy where they were, because it was too easy playing for Saracens or for England and they want to go somewhere harder. No, that's not the reason they go. It's for money, it's for lifestyle, it's for other things apart from that. So he hasn't said that, but just to get ahead of the curve there, I hate it when people say, I'll move for the challenge. What a load of rubbish. But we don't know why Tom Willis exactly is moving. Maybe there'll be more details coming up, but it is a bit of a disappointment. I'm sure part of it is because of family, because Jack is in France. They can raise their families together. They can see each other. You know, there's that sort of thing as well. So it must have been a big, hard decision for him to give up England essentially for this. But yeah, like I said, good luck to him, but still a massive surprise because he had moved back to Saracens to play for England, to play in a World Cup, and now he is giving it up. It is a big, big shame. Are more players going to do this, going to move to France and things like that and forego their chance of playing in a World Cup? Well, I still think it's a bit of an outlier because of the fallout from Wasps going under. We wouldn't have had that situation otherwise. Jack Willis found himself in Toulouse in an unbelievable all-conquering team, and why would he want to leave that? So that was a tricky one, giving up England. Now Tom following the same way. But anyway, if you think you know the reasons why he may have gone, please let me know. But for now, let's wait and see. But it is incredibly disappointing. But as I said, good luck to him. But now what? Now what do England do in the short term? Does he get picked for these November internationals? That's a really interesting point. I think there is an argument to say have him in the squad for continuity, but maybe don't start him. But I think I'm erring on the fact of, look, if he's not going to be going forward to the World Cup, what's the point in putting extra caps in him when we need to get more number 8s capped? We need to get the man who I think is the obvious replacement for him, Chandler Cunningham South, playing in his best position for England. He's most suited to number 8, being a massive ball carrier himself. So I would say, Tom Willis, look, sorry, if you're not going to be available at the end of this year, there's just no point. Maybe bring in Ilioni of Leicester. That could be a good one. So I think, unfortunately, he misses out, or maybe they go back to someone like Alex Dombrandt, who's been okay for England and he's very experienced. Maybe that's what they do. but I think it definitely weakens them and definitely weakens the balances they can play, because they could, of course, go to Ben Earl. Ben Earl has played plenty of number 8 for England, but then, of course, you have a much smaller number 8, means do you play a bigger 6 to compensate, or do you just have a small back row and kind of deal with some of the drawbacks of that? Or do you go for someone else? Do you go for a Henry Pollock, another small number 8 but very explosive, and just go for all-out speed? That's a possibility as well. So it really does throw it all up in the air a little bit. I think I would bring in someone like Ilioni into the squad, maybe not Dombrandt, and go with Earl and Cunningham South as our number 8, and probably have Cunningham South as the guy we're training there at number 8, and maybe a bigger 6 like Hill, or maybe have 2 7s as well around Cunningham South, and kind of play the same system. Instead of Tom Willis, you just have Cunningham South, rather than changing it up to a smaller number 8 to start with, but then maybe change into a Ben Earl or a Henry Pollock into number 8, possibly later in the game. Anyway, those are my thoughts at the moment. Definitely a little bit disappointed, but England do have that depth in the back row, and his loss would be someone else's opportunity. So you've got to look at it as a glass half full. I hope, and I don't think other players are going to be following this example, because I do think it is slightly unique for the reasons I've said. But please do let me know your initial reaction down below, and I'll catch you next time.